Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima tu'allimuna wa zidna bi fadlika ilman wa ta'aliman innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Okay. So it says, وعن عقبة بن عامر قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن مثل الذي يعمل السيئات ثم يعمل حسنات كمثل رجل كانت عليه درع ضيقة. He had a chainmail that was very tight around him. قد خنقته, it was right. ثم عمل حسنة فانفكت حلقة ثم علم أخرى فانفكت أخرى حتى تخرج إلى الأرض. Right. So then there's an important thing there, right? The hadith of Allah is weak, right? Important thing there is do things immediately change? Right? So yes, it's true, things immediately change. You make a deep and profound tawbah and things immediately change. But um it doesn't mean the uns immediately comes back, right? So he see how this person as he's doing things, but in stages it's getting better, right? But it doesn't immediately change things. There can also be a period of like awkwardness between oneself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the sin, right? Um, and similarly, it's like an engine going, right? So if you can imagine the car is on a hill and it's in first gear and it's stopped, right? The handbrake is on, so it's stopped. So now you let go of the handbrake and it's going to roll backwards, but you need to go forwards. So the force needed to get the car going forward is quite a lot, right? And so you're in first and you now need to accelerate. If the engine size isn't big enough for the weight, it won't be able to go forward, right? So, that's why sometimes when you have these cars, like Indian cars, right? You have like 1.4, 1.2 engine van. Is that true? Like a 1.2 engine van?
Yes, sir.
Right, I think so anyway. So that's great for a flat, right? They have it as thin as possible so they can get through things, and it's great. But actually, it takes the energy needed to get up a hill. You might not be able to do it, and if you put too much on the car, you won't be able to do it. So I remember I had my second car was a I think it was a 3.5 or 2.7. Can't remember. No, it was 3.5 or 3.4. It was a big engine, right? So this was a Prado. Toyota Prado. And so that car, it was actually not that bad going up hills because it didn't actually use, if you can imagine like the amount of fuel to a smaller car to go uphill actually might take more. So it's actually pretty good on using, petrol going uphill. It wasn't too bad actually because it had a good straight engine. So anyway, so that initial, if you can do the equation, right? How much any energy, here's a 2 ton car or a 1.5 ton car. It's on a 45 degree, okay, let's say 45, 10 degree, hill. The energy it needed to get going forward is quite hard. That's why you have to start first, right? So doing the good initially is not necessarily easy, right? That first shift from haram to halal, like I'm making tawbah, is not necessarily easy. So at this stage, if you think about it, he did one good deed. It's still hard for him to move, right? And then he says, ثم عمل حسنا فانفكت حلقة ثم عمل حسنا فانفكت أخرى. Bit by bit becomes easy. Bit by bit becomes natural, right? So you see this person and it's like, yeah, praying on time it's kind of natural. Uh, not making riba becomes kind of natural, right? It becomes easier, right? So an exercise, right? The first time you do exercise is really hard, right? Getting into exercise is very difficult, right? Starting running is really hard, right? Starting something, getting into things, right? Then you get a flow of things, it's a bit easier. Um, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. It doesn't get immediately easy. Okay. So that was examples in the car is like getting into first. You're going to be in first. That uses quite a lot. I mean, that's probably maximum revs, right? I think it's going to be on maximum revs when you're going in first. The engine's working really, really hard. And then now you start to get a bit of speed, this momentum. Now the force in order to go forward is not the same, right? It's not the same. So because the speed difference when you're going to, you might be still accelerating, but the actual acceleration is not very significant, right? So the force pulling you down is not very significant because you also have momentum on these things. And so it's a bit easier, into second and then third, خلاص, you're easy going, right? So, but yeah, that getting from stop to first is actually hard, right? Changing that initial change is actually hard and it doesn't immediately get super easy. وعن أبي الدرداء أنه سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقص على المنبر وهو يقول ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان قلت وإن زان قلت قلت وإن زنى وإن سرق يسرق وإن سرق يا رسول الله فقال ثانية ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فقلت الثانية المرة الثانية وإن زنى وإن سرق يا رسول الله فقال الثالثة ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فقلت والثالثة وإن زنى وإن سرق يا رسول الله وإن وإن رغم أنف أبي right. So there's an interesting. I've never seen that before. رغم أنف. No, I always say رغم أنف, but here it says وإن رغم أنف أبي درداء. Even if Abu Darda's nose has to go in the dust. So that's we have the phrase in spite of, right? In spite of so and so, right? To the rage of so and so. That's the actual phrase, right? So you say, in spite of the costs, the country managed to do X, Y, and Z. What it means in spite of Aban means it means at the cost of causing rage and anger to Aban, right? That's what it means, in spite of something. وعن عامر الرامي قال بينما نحن عنده يعني عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذ أقبل رجل عليه كساء وفي يده شيء قد التف عليه, it's wrapped around it. فقال يا رسول الله مررت بغيضة شجر فسمعت فيها أصوات أصوات فراخ طائر فأخذتهن فوضعتهن في كسائي فجاءت أمهن فاستدارت على رأسي فكشفت لها عنهن فوقعت عليهن فلففتهن بكسائي فهن أولئي معي. So I don't know what this is, a غيضة. Anyway, basically I heard these birds, right? So I heard these firach, heard these chicks, and so I put them in my bag, and then its mother came, right? And so it just a side point, right? In the way we looking at it, we look at it as this is very cruel. Like, why would you pick up a bunch of chicks, right? I don't think that's innately cruel, right? Cruel is I want to be horrible, but it's protein, right? So the general poverty, the general need for profit is not just. So anyway, basically the mother came and he got her as well. So he says, فَهُنَّ أُولَئِي مَعِي. These here they are. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ضعهن فوضعتهن وأبت أمهن إلا لزومهن فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أتعجبون لرحمي right رحمة لرحم أم الأفراخ فراخها. It's interesting, there's two different plurals. Are you surprised at the kindness that the mother of the of the chicks shows to her chicks. I'm not sure why there's two different plurals, afrah and then firah. فوالذي بعثني بالحق لله أرحم بعباده من أم الأفراخ بفراخها ارجع بهن حتى تضعهن من حيث أخذتهن وأمتهن معهن فرجع بهن رواه أبو داود. Right. So again, I don't think it's necessarily the case the Prophet was telling him off for doing that. Right. Um, it's possible. So in the Shafi school, for example, you cannot slaughter the young without the mother. You know, if you have like a calf, you can't kill the calf or kill the mother without, you can't do that. You have to, so I don't know exactly what age with a calf, but so, but here it's slightly different scenario. It's not domesticated animalism. He just sees some chicks, right? And this is food, right? So he's not picking up for waste. Wallahu a'lam. Whereas in our world, we're like, oh, that'll be shocking, right? How could you possibly do that? Why would you pick up chicks? Like, where's the benefit against the pain, the loss, right? But I believe the Prophet was telling him just out of rahmah, not that it's actually haram. Wallahu a'lam. اوكي وعن عبد الله بن عمر قال كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في بعض غزواته فمر بقوم فقال من القوم فقالوا نحن المسلمون وامرأة تخطب تحضب عفوا تحضب he says أي توقد right تحضب بقدرها معها ابن لها فإذا ارتفع وهج تنحت به right. So she keeps تنحت, she turned away. تنحت به, she turned him away. She pushes him away. Right? The baby is right next to where she's cooking. She doesn't want him to get burnt. فأتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت أنت رسول الله؟ قال نعم. قالت بأبي أنت وأمي أليس الله أرحم الراحمين؟ قال بلى. قالت أليس الله أرحم بعباده من أمي بولدها؟ قال بلى. قالت إن الأمة لا تلقي ولدها في النار. فأكب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يبكي ثم رفع رأسه إليها فقال إن الله لا يعذب من عباده إلا المارد المتمرد الذي يتمرد على الله وأبى أن يقول لا إله إلا الله. رواه ابن ماجه. وعن ثوبان عن النبي she has a good question, right? It's interesting, like she has a good question. He didn't say astaghfirullah, sister, right? So it's really important to entertain people's questions. People ask questions and they do have bad adab, it's true, right? I'm often shocked by people's adab, right? Which is a fault, I don't understand where people are coming from. I'm not very good at understanding other people, right? But it's very important to understand and validate people's questions, right? There's truth in their questions. It's just they're coming from the wrong, and the conclusion is wrong, but there's truth in their questions. عن ثوبان عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن العبد لا يلتمس مرضاة الله فلا يزال بذلك فيقول الله عز وجل لجبريل إن فلانا عبدي يلتمس أن يرضيني ألا إن رحمتي عليه فيقول جبريل رحمة الله على فلان ويقولها جملة العرش ويقولها من حولها هم حتى يقولها أهل السماوات السبع ثم تهبط له إلى الأرض. I believe the رحمة yeah. تهبط تلك الرحمة له إلى الأرض. رواه أحمد. وعن أسامة بن زيد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في قول الله عز وجل فمنهم ظالم لنفسه ومنهم مقتصد ومنهم سابق بالخيرات قال كلهم في الجنة. If they repent, etc. Right, it says ثم أورثنا الكتاب الذي اصطفينا من عبادنا فمنهم ظالم لنفسه. Some of them follow some, yes. Some excel. Okay, this one now. Okay, باب ما يقول عند الصباح والمساء والمنام. الفصل الأول عن عبد الله بن. Give me 1 second, please. الفصل الأول عن عبد الله بن مسعود قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أمسى قال أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم إني أسألك من خير هذه الليلة وخير ما فيها وأعوذ بك من شرها وشر ما فيها اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الكسل والهرم وسوء الكبر وفتنة الدنيا وعذاب القبر وإذا أصبح قال ذلك أصبحنا وأصبح الملك لله في رواية ربي إني أعوذ بك من عذاب النار وأعوذ بك من عذاب القبر وعن حذيفة قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أخذ مضجعه من الليل وضع يده تحت خده ثم يقول اللهم باسمك أموت وأحيا وإذا استيقظ قال الحمد لله الذي أحيانا بعدما أماتنا وإليه النشور ومسلم عن البراء وعن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أوى أحدكم إلى فراشه فلينفض فراشه بداخلة إزاره. Right? The تاء مربوطة is to move it from concept to a thing. Right? Like عين specific, عينة a sample, بين clear, بينة a clear proof. So داخل inside, داخلة the inside of, right? بداخلة إزاره. Mose concept, Mosa an instance of the concept. Right? فإنه لا يدري ما خلفه ما خلفه عليه. ثم what came after him that's against him. الله أعلم. ثم يقول باسمك ربي وضعت جنبي وبك أرفعه إن أمسكت نفسي فارحمها وإن أرسلتها فاحفظها. Right? So this is again, every single time we move, obviously we should be thinking we die any minute, but it's hard, right? But at least like think, key things. I'm sitting down to eat. I'm not going to get off of this table. I'm sitting down in this class. This is it. Right? This is the end. Right? You go to sleep, that's it. I'm, handing in the form. Right? This is just that exam work, you have a choice. I don't know if you had exams like that, but when those exams are like you really kind of messed up on, and you have like another 2 hours, but that's all you know. You know what I'm saying? So you could just sit there and think for another hour and try and add something, try and review one of the questions, but this is it. And then you just awkwardly, have you been in an exam like that? Where you kind of
Yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, so then you're like, you just like just awkwardly raise your hand and that hand in the paper, that's what it is, right? This is what we're doing. So every single day you're like, we hand in the paper. This is it. That's it. So life is that's it. You're sitting down in this class and that's it. This is the end of the class. This is the end of our lives. Right? And then, So in reality, it's moment by moment, but at least on some level, like you break down your life into these moments. Getting into the car, you're not going to get out of this car. That's it. You know, when you go to sleep, you're not going to wake up. So that's why you're saying things like that. وَإِنْ أَمْسَكْتَ نَفْسِي فَارْحَمْهَا. Right? If I die and if I don't wake up, فَارْحَمْهَا. Right? You know, Spawn, I had a very, how old are you, Aban?
28.
28. So anyway, I had a student, I was like 22, something like that, I don't know. And the student, he was 35. Very, very, very good student. In Malaysia, I think. I think he was in Malaysia. Maybe Singapore. It might have been Singapore. Malaysia or Singapore. Anyway. So he's like 35 and he was in like all of my classes. And one day it's like, you know, he doesn't turn up. And he had a heart attack at his desk at work or something like that. Like, you know, just basically died at work. So then this is the teachers all talking like, my student, we all referring to him as my student. And I say, well, hang on a minute, he's in my classes. I say, no, he's also in my classes. And so he's like, mashallah, he was taking like every single class possible and impossible. And you know, and that's it. Just passed away like randomly. You know, like cars are very dangerous things, Get in a car, get out of, it's quite easy to die in a car crash, not very difficult. Um, slip up on something, choke on something is quite easy. Um, it's life, right? وإن أرسلتها فاحفظها بما تحفظ به عبادك الصالحين. وفي رواية ثم ليضطجع على شقه الأيمن ثم ليقل باسمك. Right? Okay. وفي رواية فلينفضه بصانفة ثوبه. Same thing. صانفة ثوبه 3 مرات. Flick it basically. Shake it off. وإن أمسك وإن أمسكت نفسي فاغفر لها. وعن براء بن عازب قال كان رسول الله. So, that scenario where when somebody is dying and they're like, I can't believe I'm actually dying, I'm dying right now. Oh my God. And they're like, all these kind of thoughts. These thoughts should be going through our head regularly, right? That's the whole idea that whole process, like this is it, you know. عن البراء بن عازب قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أوى إلى فراشه نام على شقه الأيمن ثم قال اللهم أسلمت نفسي إليك ووجهت وجهي إليك وفوضت أمري إليك وألجأت ظهري إليك رغبة ورهبة إليك لا ملجأ ولا منجا منك إلا إليك آمنت بكتابك الذي أنزلت ونبيك الذي أرسلت. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قالهن ثم مات تحت ليلته مات على الفطرة. وفي رواية قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لرجل يا فلان إذا أويت إلى فراشك فتوضأ وضوءك للصلاة ثم اضطجع على شقك الأيمن. Right? So the same thing here, like you say, I'm too tired to make wudu, honestly. Right? So you could be in a scenario where it's sunnah not to make wudu, right? I mean, let's say like you're unbelievably tired and you have like a really bad headache and you just need to sleep. Like this is what Allah wants you to do. So the same thing is like, that's fine. Don't make wudu, but you're handing in your exam now, right? That's it. You say, Ya Allah, like or you're not going to pray now, right? In the Maliki school, is there room for that? Like you just, your 8 hour shift, which is supposed to end at 8, finishes at like 2 a.m. So you worked, you know, an extra 6 hours, yeah. And your head is just crazy. You just need to sleep now. You okay? What's it called? You just want to sleep and wake up before Fajr and pray Isha. Is there room for that in the Maliki school? Like if you're unbelievably tired?
I am not sure. I'll ask anyway.
Okay. Inshallah. So anyway, I thought there was something like that. But anyway, so that what I'm trying to say is, we fall short intentionally, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, this is as good as gonna get. I honestly I can't make wudu now, and I'm handing in my sheet. This is my I'm basically I'm doing the suboptimal, happy that this is the best I can do, and happy that khalas I'm handing in my sheet like this, right? As opposed to something else, right? You know. So again, if that's not the case, if you don't want to hand in the sheet like that, then go and make wudu, right? If you don't want to hand in the sheet having not prayed Isha yet, then go and pray Isha. Or, I'm too tired to pray my sunnahs, okay? But you're handing in the sheet, that's it. You're handing in your, that's it. There's no waking up, right? وعن أنس أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا أوى إلى فراشه قال الحمد لله الذي أطعمنا وسقانا وكفانا وآوانا فكم ممن لا كافي له ولا مؤوي, right? And so that's another very important thing, right? You should go to sleep and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Visiting India is like an edification for me.
You visited Hyderabad, right?
Hyderabad, yeah.
Okay.
Seeing the shanty towns, um, it's very important. So open your eyes, right? You see little kids, you know, 200 houses, 300 houses, 500, I mean, not houses, right? Kind of like sheds. There's no flowing water. And this is how people live life, right? So I don't know if that's over the whole of India, but um, you know, فكم ممن لا كافي له ولا مؤوي, right? It could be la mu'wi, it could also be la ma'wa, right? فكم ممن لا كافي له ولا مأوى. I know if it was ma'wa, it'd have an alif, that's why, right? It would be meme alif, wow, alif maqsura, ma'wa. But this is mu'wi, right? There's nobody to give him refuge, right? And there's nobody to suffice him, right? Kids born in the streets and they don't know, right? They don't even know what's going on, right? They're just there in the streets and they don't know how they got there, right? وعن علي أن فاطمة أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم during COVID, right? People in America are getting hungry because they used to eating at school. So kids are going to school and they eat at, they have breakfast and they have lunch. They don't have dinner, but they have breakfast and lunch. So that was like, it's a reality for people that parents do not look after them. They do not have loving parents or whatever. They have sane parents. It might be loving parents, it might be insane, you know. Allah protect us. I just want to point something out here. So it says, مات تحت ليلته, and then he says, هي تحت حادثة فيها. So this is Sheikh Albani, right? And then he says, قال ابن حجر عقب طلوع فجرها. So notice, I don't know when this book was printed and exactly what years Sheikh Albani is doing these things, but notice how he can get away with without mentioning a reference. He just says, قال ابن حجر. You know what I'm saying? Like, where does Ibn Hajar say that? So then I say, oh, it's in Bukhari, right? Because it's like hadith in Bukhari. So, okay, I'm going to assume that that is in Fath al-Bari, right? So where is it here? It says 3, and the hadith is in Bukhari. Yeah, it's in Bukhari. So like, okay, I know that. But That's like the Ashab al-Hawashi, right? That's not how the muhaddithin, how people do tahqiq today, right? So it's interesting, right? You see these different stages where people are allowed to say things or do things that they didn't have to in the past. Right? That they're not allowed to now, sorry. Okay. And then he says, وعن علي أن فاطمة أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تشكو إليه ما تلقى في يدها من الرحى. Right? The hard work that she had to do. وبلغها أنه جاءه رقيق, slaves. فلم تصا ف... ف... فلم تصادفه, but she didn't happen to see the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. فذكرت ذلك لعائشة فلما جاء أخبرته عائشة فقال فجاءنا, so she came. وقد أخذنا مضاجعنا فذهبنا نقوم, right? um, so here the word ذهب يقوم, I'm not sure if, I don't know that as of the أفعال الشروع, you know what I'm saying? Like we would say جعلنا نقوم, فجعلنا نقوم, we started to get up, but here it's being used as أفعال الشروع, like ذهبنا نقوم, we started to get up. So I don't know. ذهب من أفعال الشروع. ذهب يسأل, he started to ask. ذهب من أفعال الشروع. So there's lots of things that like are used kind of like a حال or something like that. It's not really أفعال الشروع. It is.
Yes, it mentions even in the Sharh, أي شرعنا وقصدنا لنقوم له.
I know that's explaining it, but I'm just thinking it sounds like it's like uh here we go. I've got النحو الوافي, okay? 1 second. There are a lot of things are not so well. Okay. Doesn't mention it here. Um, الربيع والكافية. الشروع. طفقة. Here we go. طفقة. Keywords look up. طفقة. Give me one more class a second. Oh, this is the cafe itself. One second. I'm just trying to find the Shafia. One second. Why am I looking in the cafe? I was trying to look in the Shafia. One second. Sorry. Like, why can't I find this? The cafe. I want the Sharh. الأسطرابادي أسطرابادي. Here we go. طافق. Nothing. الشروع. Nope, nothing. Um, ناقصة. Okay, why can I not find this here? One second. Okay, my apologies. I'm looking again in the wrong place. I'm looking at here on the sharh on the shafia. I want the kafia. Sharh al-shafia. No, that's why I'm looking in the wrong place. Let's try and find it here. That is for download. No. Okay, let's have another look here. Yeah, so Shamina doesn't have it. What was that other thing that you use, Aban? What's it called?
The AI thing,
No, the other one, what's it called? The one you shared with me.
Turas, Turas.io, Turath. Even that's a good.
This one, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, Astra. Ay, ay, ay. Doesn't have it. Okay, let's try this then. Let's try. It doesn't even have the book. Uh, let's try Al-Khudri. Nope. Let's try Al-Ashmuni. Okay, we're going somewhere. So, I'll look in the book. This is the problem. Like this word, like has to be in the book. Tafiqa, you know? Like why can't I find it? Let's have a look here then. أفعال المقاربة. So أفعال المقاربة and shuru are not the same, but anyway, it usually comes straight after it. Okay. فطفق مسحا بالسوق. Okay. Just want to find the whole list. Sometimes I'll add things, but I don't think honestly. Okay. That's it. I can't see it there. So I don't know. I will don't know where to look, honestly. Have you been done? Can you get my phone over there? Yeah, I'm still teaching. Uncle's here. Uncle's in India. We'll finish it, Habib. Can you just get my phone over there? It's just over there on the table. When all things fail, use AI. Yeah, do you have a chat GPT or anything like that?
Yeah, I do.
So try and look it up. Say ask it in Arabic is ذهب من أفعال الشروع and see if it mentions. Oh, it's not there. And ask or can you maybe ask it more specific? Please look in the أي there, Habiba. Look in the sharh of can you ask ChatGPT do things like that? Like look in. Are you there?
Right? And the
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I said if the shar, if it was incorrect Arabic, like you mentioned, like I think in for example, that hadith about like doing nafil in the masjid with somebody else, and that it says yattajiru. So in that they have that whole discussion that no, it can't be because if it like verbs on that pattern don't come like that. So if it was like a gross error, it would have come up in the sharh on the hadith, right?
It's possible, yeah. But I'm just saying some of these things are like qariba, it's like the thing is also if you can imagine, it, like for somebody to acknowledge something as foreign, they have to feel it as foreign. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes there'll be words that, for example, yeah, everybody uses, and so they don't even think that it's foreign or it's not even right. And so Allahu alam, Allahu alam. Khair, inshallah. Let's stop here, inshallah. Maybe we can try and look this up. I'm interested now to see to what extent AI can even answer these questions. It'd be interesting. Let's stop here, inshallah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum.